me switching the camera views during the live.
Perfect. Do you want me to look into the camera, or you want me to just look at the screen? What works for you?
It'll be good if the camera is at the same place as me.
Yes,
that one.
You're a bit lower.
Yes,
that one. I'll look there.
Yeah, perfect. I'll do the same. All right. So welcome to a new episode of the Future Proof You podcast with Joeri Schilders, and I think I managed to pronounce it and only mispronounce it half. So
You're fine.
Joeri, I'm fine. Great. So Joeri is originally from a huge city in the Netherlands called Drunen, and if you haven't heard about it, there's something wrong about you. And so Joeri spent like 15 years in China, and has been based in Singapore for 7 years. And I brought Joeri to talk about all his kids, which he has none. But what we wanted to talk about is his experience with his dad and now how he's building his business with that in mind. How you doing, Joeri?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Julian. This is it's a pleasure.
No, same here. I think Joeri and I, we met through video messages on LinkedIn. Yep.
Exactly.
We're the kind of people who lives very long voice video messages.
It's a nice way to communicate, right? That's why people are watching this. It's just a bit more personal.
I love it. It's all about video, but you've got all the gurus that goes, you need to be sharp and short, like 10 seconds video message or 20 seconds. I'm like, I can only say hi in 10 seconds.
Same here.
How can we talk about things that matters?
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to introduce yourself? So you want to talk about your business and then start to introduce us to your family. So your parents and your siblings, and then I'll drag you into the questions.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. So my name is Joeri. I have a Russian name. I'm full-time Dutch. I live in Singapore. Been here for about 7 years. Before I lived in China, as Julian said, for 15. I run an innovation agency. What that means is I work with a group of my friends, and we work on innovation briefs as much as we can with companies. So companies usually come to us with either a challenge or they need new growth, and they're just a bit stuck. They're looking for something new and something different. And at the end of the day, that's what we facilitate. So we facilitate from strategy to ideas to implementation. And I've been in Asia for so long because I'm actually a translator. I studied Mandarin for international business and trade years ago, before studying Chinese was a normal thing. And I remember people used to laugh at me, kind of go like, why you got to study Chinese? Like, you want to start a restaurant or something? Like, really dumb comments. And this is in the 90s. And I don't think people saw that yet. But then years later, having lived in China, people are like, yeah, that was a good choice, because China became a super interesting place for better and for worse. But it was just a really interesting place.
You were already an innovator, right? You were ahead of the curve.
Well, yeah, I guess so, because you're asking me to talk about the family. I think my whole family, we did things a little bit differently. So my brother has an Italian name who lives in the Czech Republic. My sister has a German name, and she lived in Indonesia and Canary Islands and Spain, just in France as well, many different countries. So in a day and age where people, at least in Europe, I don't know about you, Julian, but a lot of my friends growing up, maybe they went on vacation, maybe it was Spain or France, UK, Germany, maybe, but like Asia was really far. Like, people didn't really go there yet.
Yeah, no way.
That was like a bit strange, right, in the 80s. And my family already did that. So my parents took us to Taiwan, to Singapore, and to really different places growing up to show us a different side of the world. And it was very interesting. And I think that led us to all kind of end up on these different corners of the world doing really different things. That really came from the way we were raised. And I think learning Mandarin was the same, because I saw that the world is so big and so many different playgrounds around the world, with parents who promoted the whole, you don't have to be like everybody else. Do your own thing, do something different. If everybody looks left, maybe it's good to look to the right. If everybody is this, don't follow them. Because if you follow the rest, then you're just going to compete with all the rest. Do something differently. And I think that also drove a bit of, let's study Mandarin and let's do something that's a bit ahead of the curve. That came from home. I think that came a lot from how we were raised and the opportunities we got, but also kind of the inspiration and the confidence we got to, you don't have to be like the rest. You don't have to get a job. Like, you can do your own thing, but that it's not as easy as you think it is.
I like it. You don't have to have a job. And so did that come from your parents? You don't need to have a job.
Yes, you have to work, but it does not mean you have to get a job. There's nothing. By the way, there's nothing wrong with a job. I never tell people that they shouldn't have a job, because the flip side is, a lot of people look at me, they say, "Oh my God, I wish I could work for myself," and I always tell them, "You can, but are you willing? Are you willing to work very hard?" Yeah. And some people say, "You know what? I actually like the comfort of having a job with a bit more structure and knowing that I get paid at the end of the month." And then I go, cool, then maybe working for yourself isn't for you. And I think because we were raised with parents who worked for themselves and very blue collar, just so you know. So my mother was a hairdresser. So at the age of 16, rode around on a bicycle, did these big kind of 60s beehive haircuts on people in the neighborhood. And my father started in his parents' business. They had an import-export business of dyes, so dyes for clothing, which went all over the world. It was hard work. It was driving a truck. It was loading and offloading things. Hard work, no time to whine, no time to complain. That's what everybody did. And it was a way to contribute to the family, because even in the Netherlands in those days, it was a bit more like, if you had money, your kids could go to a nice school. If you didn't have money, they probably will end up working somewhere because they need to pay the bills at home. So it's a very working class family. But with that came, so he took over his dad's business at a very young age. Which sounds really sexy nowadays, like he was inherited a business, like your Donald Trump or something. But as far as I understood, they had family debt because his dad died quite young.
Nice. Here you go, son. Get my debt.
Yeah. So it wasn't like he got a couple of $1 million. It was a business that required a lot of work, and then looking after a family and kids and stuff. So just work ethics, very, very hard work. But with that came, my dad always wanted to do his own thing. He was his own man, did his own thing. Never felt like he had to follow everybody else. And that made him, in hindsight, because we didn't see that then, but it made him super innovative because he did things just a little bit differently. And with that came, see, there's another way to lead a life. You don't have to join Philips. You can if you want, but you can do something for yourself. And that came, go for it.
It really taught you just by his behavior, right? Like train you on a different mindset by his behavior. But did you see if did you feel like he wasn't there enough, or did you find that he was actually spending a lot of time with you guys?
That's a really interesting question, because I talked about this with a couple of my friends the other day. I don't feel, let's put it like this. I know he was away a lot. I know he worked very long days. He worked very hard. My mother worked from home a lot. My mother's hairdresser, so we had people coming over the house. So she did a lot of the hairdressing at home, which I love, because, I'm 5 years old. I get to make tea and coffee for all these aunties who would always bring me chocolates and sweets and stuff. I love that. Nice. And my dad was away a lot. He worked long days, but not in a bad way. I never look back and kind of go, he was never there, because I think when they were there, they were just really focused on us. And the reason I know this, because at the dinner table, so there's my brother, my sister, myself, my mom, my dad. So the dinner table was time for us, and we never talked about work. It was all about us. And I think my mom and dad had an agreement of, we don't talk business at the dinner table, because one, it's not interesting for them. That's one. And I'm sure, I don't know, but I bet you they've had rocky times in their business, like everybody does. There was an 80s oil crisis, 90s. So they've had really rough times, I'm sure. Maybe they were even on the verge of losing their business. I don't know, but I'm sure that happened.
But you don't know. I mean, that's the point, right? You don't know.
That never came to us. And the reason is because my dad always said, there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to sense the stress. But what are they going to do when they're 7?
I know there is that, but it's funny because I actually encourage parents to share their business with their kids, like to normalize entrepreneurship, which is what your dad has done. That he's normalized entrepreneurship for you, right? But also normalize the failure and the successes, right? And so, for instance, last week, I run a masterclass, and my daughter was in charge of drawing all the signups on the projection board, right? That was her job. And so when we reached 50, well, she knew because she drew 50 signups, and we all celebrated together. They got a bit of kombucha. I got champagne.
Same.
Exactly, same. But they also know when it doesn't work out. So I think it's a way to present it that is not, they don't get the stress from it. It's like, I'm learning from it. But
I think so to interject, I think I think I agree with you. So I think I misrepresented it a little bit. I think there's certain things you want to shield off from your things. And I think those are more the things that were really out of our control. When it came to showing the business and showing what they did and how they did it, showing ethics, showing hard work, showing integrity, telling stories, we got all that. And we all ended up working in the business, because if your parents have a business,
yes,
you're going to be working there. And I was talking to my brother the other day. He goes like, I'm not even sure whether we got paid. I'm sure we did get paid something. But, you know, sweeping the hallways, kind of dirty, not dirty work, but like not cool work. But we had to work for stuff. Like if we wanted to buy a skateboard, go work. You know, you got two hands, you're a clever guy, figure it out. And that was the other one, I think, which we learned is you got to, when you work for yourself, an entrepreneur solves problems. So you're going to have to take what's in front of you and you need to come up with a solution, because other people are not going to do it for you. And that mindset, I think, was instilled in us. And we didn't like it per se, because I had a couple of things in my life that happened. And particularly my dad was very much like, it's your problem, you fix it. And I'd be either crying or like ask for help. He'd be like, no, you caused this, so it's on you. But that's also teaching responsibility, because later on you look back at it and you go, that's really cool. But then I used to go like, what an asshole for being so hard to us. Like, why does he, you know, he can just help us. But he'd be like, no, you figure it out. But also having the confidence in us and knew that we could, being able to have a bit of patience. And I think I see a lot of parents who jump in their kids really quickly. They help them a bit too soon. Where I go like, no, let them figure it out. They can, as long as you give them that space and the confidence, they can figure out more than you think.
And I think by having you work in a business, and I think I'll rephrase what you say. You said we had to work in the business. I think it's more like you got to work in their business. Like it was actually an opportunity, really, where they were showing you that they had confidence in what you could achieve.
Yeah. And my mom and dad actually worked together in the business for over a decade at some point. And I'm thinking, wow, working together with your partner. Yeah. Like, that must be hard. That must be very hard. But somehow they made it work, at least to us. There was everybody chipped in. That's part of being a family.
Some couples can make it work. I've got a few friends that work together. In my family, it's awesome. We talk about it. My wife has been a coach for mums for 4 or 5 years now, and now I'm a coach for dads. We share notes, but we will not work together. We go on each other's podcast and on each other's Facebook lives, but no,
it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough. So, and I think for me, that's one way of future-proofing my business is not to work with my wife 100%, but to support each other. Like, I've got this problem with, you know, how will you take this at the moment? You know, she's about to release a new program that she's launching, and she's opening the window for sales for only 3 days.
Yeah,
and she has 100 people already on the waiting list sign up. They just can't wait to sign up for the product. And She was saying, how am I going to pick them? I only need 15. It's $2,500 for the course.
Yeah.
And I said, well, first in, first out, but you need to have some qualification questions. So it's the type of, you know, she knew that. She actually knew it, but by being able to share it with me, it kind of worked better, right?
You need a sparring partner, right? You need to bounce off some of these things with other people, which interestingly leads me to another one. Like, even in our family, we were always welcome to bring ideas and kind of, you figure something. If we wanted something, I remember them at a couple of times. I don't know what we asked for, but it was like, you build a case. You tell us why you want to go this trip or why you want to do that. You write me a plan or how we're going to fund it. Like those kind of things. So we have to bounce off ideas with each other and then pitch, and then we get some feedback. And those are all kind of micro skills which you need later on. Right?
Yes.
You need to work with each other. You need to come up with a compelling reason. Because I want a skateboard. Well, why do you want a skateboard? Give us a good reason why we should buy you a skateboard. Nice. Right? That's not a good reason. No, you gotta work for it and those kind of things.
It's so useful though, because this is what comes into, you know, when we want to invest in our business, we're like, this license for this software or this training, like it's nice and shiny, but do I really need it for my business? What's going to be the return investment for the business, or is that going to empower me and give me the energy to keep on going? Like all those questions. If you had that from early on, wow, that's pretty impressive.
That really helps.
And so who now do you use as a sparring partner in order to bounce back ideas? How do you future-proof your business that way?
Actually, a lot of people. I think if you want to build your own business, your network is so important. And when I say network, I'm not talking about the network I need to sell to. That's a very different thing. So I've got clients, and some clients, by the way, I've worked with for a long time. Some of them I can just call and say, you know what, I've got this idea. I want to sell it to a business like yours. Can I bounce this off with you? And some will be very happy to give me their time. There's a solid network of people, some of who I work with, some of who are peers and friends in between that zone, people I've met along the journey who have a maybe they're very strong in marketing, maybe they're an engineer. So I'll leverage those from time to time. Just ask. You can always ask. And be respectful of that time. I think there's a difference between asking somebody for a favor and actually, if it's their business, I think you have to be respectful of their time as well, if that's how they sell their time. And finally, all the innovation projects that we run, I don't do them alone because usually they're quite complex and quite big. I'm good at certain things. I know I'm good at certain things. There's a lot of things I'm really, really not good at. So surrounding yourself with a couple of people who do things way better than you and learning to be cool with that, because that takes a bit of dropping the ego a bit, knowing that you don't have all the answers. Then you can bring in other people. So the people I work with are just a solid bunch of people. If we're working for at least a decade on these projects, and we can always just go, 5 minutes of your time, can I just check this? And we're very generous back and forth. It's never in balance. It's never like, you've given me 10 minutes, I'll give you. It's not like that, but we're just really genuine and generous with our time. And you need that, because you can get in. I get in such an echo chamber sometimes where I'm just by myself trying to figure stuff out. And then every time I ask somebody else, I go for a walk and just talk to somebody. I'm like, yes, of course. We can all get into our heads a bit too much, right? I don't know about you, but I have that a lot. And I just need to get out and talk to other people.
I like that you do it when you go for a walk. But it feels like you've created for yourself your mastermind, basically, like of people with different skill set, and you reach out to them. You might not be getting all together at the same time, but you reach them on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah. A lot, actually, because I don't think I could have done what I do now if it wasn't because of the people around me. I don't think I could have done what I've done now if my family hadn't supported me. First of all, my brother, sister, and my mom, my dad. But also now this network, you live abroad. I mean, I don't know whether you got an Australian passport or not, but I mean, if you live abroad, you're going to have to recreate some of that family, right? And that family comes from a couple of friends, a couple of peers. And I've been very lucky. Maybe not lucky. We shouldn't put too much on luck, but lucky and with a lot of hard work and with some integrity, you've built up a nice little network of people. Yeah, you can build on, you can bounce off things without it becoming too businessy. I think just people who are generous, and I think you, or I'll own it. I have to be generous with them as well. So I put in time to reach out, send a video. The other day, somebody launched something. Hey, can you just have a quick look? Give me some feedback. Okay, and I'll take time to really. I took an hour to really go through it and give some really solid feedback rather than half on the fly.
Just an eye on it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's so important because we all have expertise and we're not expert at everything. But you can expect to receive a lot if you don't give a lot yourself.
Absolutely. It starts with giving. And, it's such a cliche. People say that you have to give without expecting anything in return, which is, I try to do it as much as possible, even though with some people I'm like, I always give, that guy never gives anything back. But then I kind of go, let go of that giving back. Just there's a couple of people who will take advantage of that a bit too much.
Yeah, that's right. But that's what I was going to talk about, because when I realized, that I've given 3 or 4 times, it's fine. But when I ask and I don't get anything in return, then I'm like, okay, so he's out of the group. Like there's a moment where you have to stop giving because it's just they're just taking advantage of you at some stage. Yeah,
I've given, and I've realized this more recently last year. I've given too much time and energy to people who should have just paid me. And what I mean to say with that one is, the quick Zoom call nowadays is a new way of saying, "Can I grab you for a coffee to pick your brain?" And I've had people say, I just want to pick your brain. Can you look at my strategy plan? And it's like, well, that's kind of work. We're getting into work territory here. Right? This is what I do professionally. And without being stingy, but some people take too much advantage of that. And what I realize is, I heard this on a podcast the other day. It's just a bit of a cliche, but it's so true. Every time you say yes to something, you say no to something else, right? So
that's right.
But when you're trying to save everybody or help everybody, that's taking away time for you in this case, for your family, for your business, for your own sanity, sleep time, energy, and you only have so much energy in a day. Now, and I don't think life should be about really hard calculations like, oh, Julian did this for me, so I'm going to find exactly the equal and give that back. I don't think it's that. I think it's about being generous, but also making sure that people don't take advantage of that, because some people will, and that's just taking away energy which you could have spent on something better.
So I've got a hack for that now.
Okay.
When people ask me exactly that, can I pick your brain on this? I'm like, yeah, sure. This is my Calendly link here, and
I heard this the other day.
$250.
Yeah. And you know what happens? And what happens? 80% then disappears. 90% disappears. The 10% who are left over are willing to pay a bit for it. So that means that they actually see the value in what you bring.
They see the value in what you bring. Exactly.
And then you're being valued because you're getting remunerated. And some people say, but that's really shallow. It's about money. Hey, buddy, like I told a couple of friends the other day, some of my friends get a salary. I'm not criticizing them, but it's like when I make YouTube videos, they're like, it's just a hobby. I'm like, no, that's work. and that's time, which over time, builds builds something else. And I think you have to be very precious with that, careful with that. Yeah.
I think you've hit the nerve right there. It's a difference being you're on a salary or you're sales based, right? Or sales or project based, right? So, and that's something that people who on a salary don't get, is that no, you're focused on that project at the moment, and I need to deliver, because if I don't deliver, well,
exactly.
I'm not going to land the sales, and I'm not going to land the milestones, or I'm not going to get to that payment milestones.
Yeah.
And that's why they say, oh, but you need to share your time. Like, well, there's a limit to it. I mean, do you get those calls on LinkedIn? Like you say, hey, nice to connect with you, and then the second message is, should we jump on a Zoom call right now?
Yes, that is that happens. That happens a lot.
I'm like,
and particularly when
yes.
But Julian, particularly when there is no context.
Zero context. Zero.
Give somebody context. I listened to James Altucher. Don't know whether you know him. He's a marketeer. Gets a lot of criticism and stuff. I like his stuff. But he said the other day, he said, when people come to you, whoever it is, and they want something, they need something, which is fine. You can always ask. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right. I agree. Yeah.
If you do, his point is, if somebody does not even consider my needs or my wants, they drop in. I drop my respect for them right away, because then it's just now it's a business transactional thing. You need something, then I'm going to charge my time.
Yeah.
And that's something you got to learn. But again, that's also something that I learned from home, because my dad used to give us contracts.
So, no way.
Yes. Because, we had an office at home, so we had a printer and a typewriter in those days. And if let's say we borrowed some money, $100, we'd get a contract. And then, I would be, but Dad, I borrowed 100. Why do I have to pay you 105 back? And he goes, that's interest. Yeah. And I didn't know what interest was. So he explained it. And I'd be like, but that's not fair. It's only 100. He goes, you can go to the bank. They'll charge you 12. So I'm still cheaper than the bank. I want you to sign here the payment terms. And if I'd be late, I'd get another letter under the door in my room, kind of saying, you have failed to make payments. And of course, he's having fun doing it. And we laughed about it later on. But it was also this whole, there's nothing like a free sandwich. You want something, that you have to do something about it. And I think, and again, he wasn't super mean about it, but he was strict about it. He would definitely go, well, now it's 110. But it was 105. Yeah, but you missed payment. So now it's 110. And those things, because that was his point. He was like, because that's life, right? That's life. Because the reality is, if I don't pay my electricity bill here, what happens? Yeah. Nobody's going to say, oh, Joeri, I know you're really busy this week with your work. Pay me next week. It's okay. Yeah, Nobody says that. They would just cut me off.
Yeah.
And those things you can learn growing up.
I like it. It's really, so I've got something along the line here of I've just received a new board game.
Okay.
It's called Cash Flow for Kids. It's based on Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki, the book, right? And it's for age 6 and up, right? And so we started playing with my daughter Saya. She's 7, and my son is 10. And the purpose, like the whole goal, is to have your passive income being maximized and cover not only your expenses, but the fact that you don't need to have a salary anymore.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting.
And they got hooked on it. And we were having conversations such as, so you get the opportunity to buy an asset such as, real estate. And they go, why am I going to buy this real estate? There is no passive income attached to it. You only purchase it. Like, you make a decision. Like, well, if there's no passive income, I don't see the need of buying this asset. I'm like, just like, sorry, all
7 and 10, yeah? 7 and 10. But here's the thing. Here's what I love about that. Kids can learn a lot more about that. And I find it interesting that there's a couple of principles. One is like dealing with money and how there's a couple of principles. I'm like, why do we teach it in school? By the way, I think kids should learn more about food and growing greener stuff so they understand where it comes from. But things like this, it's great learning to just understand how money works. And I was the worst one. My brother and my sister were way smarter and way better at that than I was. I was a dreamer. I was like the creative guy. Like, I want to be a rock star. And but I think it's great that you're teaching your kids this at this age because it can be fun.
It is.
You'd be amazed what they learn.
The point is they can learn everything. Like, for them there is no limit of what can be or cannot be learned. And I mean, the game describes liabilities and assets. And they go, well, assets is something that puts money into your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. But how simple is it as a description? When negative cash flow is the reason that 80% of businesses stops and fail.
Yes, because they don't know the cash flow. That's why they fail. Exactly.
So that was amazing. And then I was seeing Saya, who had a play date with her friend the next day, and opening the box and starting to teach her about passive income and expenses.
Awesome.
She said, look, you really need to get a home business that brings you more passive income.
Exactly. But I'll tell you what else, because I was talking to a friend about literally this topic of kind of preparing with side hustles, basically. I don't think if your kids, 7 and 10, the age your kids are at, it's more unlikely that they're not going to have a job as our parents' generation had, right?
Yeah.
So you're basically giving them the tools right now to set them up for success, because the reality is, most likely, I think the future is, a couple of my friends' kids are in their teens, they'll probably have 3-4 jobs. There'll be more contracting. Companies will not give them long-term contracts, which means they can be out at any time. Like 25 years in the business, 10 years, a lot of areas that's going to disappear. So what that means is you can put all your eggs in one basket, and if that then fails, that fails. Right now, I've got a couple of income streams. Nothing big. I've been taking a massive hit in COVID, but I can then, once this kind of goes down, you can dial that one up a bit. And again, this COVID-19 has hit everybody. I'm not going to sit here going, my business done great, because it's not. It's really been hit very hard. But I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. So there's other things. And I think you can teach kids those principles very early on through this board game. How fantastic is that? That's very clever.
The most expensive board game that I've bought ever, but the one with a real return on investment, though.
Hey, but you know what? That game was probably invented by an 8-year-old kid that's now rolling in dough somewhere on the other side of the planet, kind of going like, But it's fantastic.
It's really cool. And you know what you said about we don't know what type of jobs they're gonna have. I don't even know if my son is 10. I don't even know if he needs to go to university. I mean, I'm a university professor, right?
I know.
I don't think he needs to. He's basking in the street every week. He's buying his own musical equipment. He's got his TikTok channel, his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if he really needs to go to uni, because he's gonna start having his own businesses, and won't see that. He'll be learning from the business, really.
And for all the parents watching this, thinking, oh, my kid is wasting his time on TikTok and on YouTube and stuff. Those skills they're learning there, yes, there's a play angle to it, so I get that. But the skills that they're learning there, grabbing people's attention early on, knowing how to present themselves, being good on video. Video is only going to get bigger and bigger. It will. Yeah. I've been creating YouTube videos for about 2.5 years now. I love what I do. It's very hard work. Anybody who thinks, by the way, 5-minute video takes 5 minutes. No, it takes me about 15 hours for a 5-minute video. But for these kids to learn all these different skills, and TikTok is just a platform, but the skill of putting together a presentation of an idea within 15 seconds, that's a skill. And because humans are horrible predictors of the future, we don't know. I met some futurists, and the fair futurists will tell you it's a guess. I mean, we don't really know. We can make a couple of predictions what it might look like, but we don't know. So at this point, it's like what Ken Robinson says in his talk about how schools kill creativity. Would it not be good if kids diversify that portfolio of skills and knowledge and read different things? And can we just please stop judging all the kids by the same standards? Like they have to be. I live in Singapore. It's like mathematics and this. That's one way, and it works for a couple, but it might not work for other people. So it's if your kids are doing this, start looking at TikTok as in a much more clever way to build skills for the future. It really, really is.
Yeah,
I think it's huge.
It's funny. I've got one of my clients is developing so he wanted to develop an app to teach 14 to 17 years old science, and then more specifically bacteria, right? Yeah. And then so the plan was to do a minimum viable product by going into the different schools and doing focus groups, and and then building the app based on that. COVID happened. No more focus group, no more visiting the school. And so I told him, well, your customer segments are sitting on TikTok all day now.
Yeah. Can we use that?
Yes. And then so they started doing TikTok videos on algae, right? Like finding algae in your garden, like looking into a microscopes. And it's funny, the first few videos that they made, the first 20 to 30 seconds video, took them 4 to 6 hours to make.
Sure.
But then after that, now they're up to 70 videos now. And they create them like super quickly, and like those guys are like 25 years old, and they became so confident, and now they know that each video is actually helping them test hypotheses. Is that activity something that entertains kids? Is this better with this? Is that better with this? And now they're shipping a kit with some algae in there to to kids who on TikTok said they wanted to try the kit to be able to to do experiences on themselves. So basically reproduce the videos that they've seen on TikTok themselves. So they found it with a kit, right? And then the assessment is you need to record the progress, right? And the way you record the progress is to make TikTok videos.
Yes. And that's what I think, right? Because for a lot of people, even with me with YouTubing, and again, my main goal is in YouTubing, but people used to see it as a hobby. And a friend of mine told me is that stop seeing it as a hobby. You've worked very hard at it. It's a really great vehicle for a million different things. Same with kids. I heard somebody the other day who's really popular on TikTok. I forgot her name, but she does 15-second pronunciation videos. So the difference between effect and affect. So to affect something or the effect of this, 15 seconds video. You're talking about schooling, like why schooling might need to change. The reality is a lot of universities have tenure for some of their professors. They can never get fired. Now you have a YouTuber that, let's say you've got a professor talking about algae and you've got a YouTuber talking about algae, right?
That's right.
You could argue that the professor's like, well, I've got 28 years of experience. I've got a doctor in that. Not to minimize that. I think that's fantastic. But the reality, especially now where more people are going online, if you can't grab somebody's attention in a couple of seconds, you lose them so quickly. And it doesn't matter how good you are, because information, as we all know, it's much easier to get, right? It's commoditized. So getting people's attention, having a level of engagement, having a level of entertainment in there, that's what's going to make the difference. The other difference is if you got tenure as a professor and here's somebody who has a vested interest in creating a great course that will make money. So it's in their best interest to really make that good.
Create engagement. Yeah,
that's a massive competitor. Where years ago, it's like, there's no way. How can a 23-year-old kid blow me out of the water? Yeah, but you know what? That's exactly the same what they said about Airbnb. Well, we're the Hyatt Hotel. What's Airbnb going to do about me? You know, we're the biggest taxi company in New York. What's Uber going to do against us? There's so many examples of history where the rules are being challenged, and you can go against it, or you can just learn about it first before you have that. Like, that will never change, because it will. It always has.
What I really like with videos and social media together is that you get to show what you're talking about and to test your hypothesis so quickly. I mean, you get likes, you get comments, you get feedback. I mean, I used to have to get
and brutal feedback because people are anonymous.
Yes. And so now that the school have reopened, Charles, my client, goes, well, we could do the focus groups again at schools, but honestly, I can get so much more feedback so much quicker on TikTok. Why will I bother? And then now I'm taking it to the next level and say, okay, cool. So now you've tested the product. You know exactly the type of activity that the kids of that age wants, what they're interested in. I mean, you know how to grab their attention. Now you need to go to who is paying for it. You know, who's going to pay for the kit? Because this first time around, you offer it for free because it's your MVP. So I said, now you take your video that you did for TikTok and you go on LinkedIn. You talk to the parents on LinkedIn and you show them how their kids can learn through those TikTok video and educate them that TikTok is not just for fun. It can also be educational. And the link to sign up for the program is right there.
and you know, all the building. So exactly what you just said, right? Let's say now you're pitching it on LinkedIn. You know, all the things you need for that. You need a couple of things. One, you need hard work. You need to put the work in. Two, you need to find some way to present in a way that's engaging, because there's a lot of stuff people scroll through. So how do you stand out? You need to be able to pitch an idea. You need to be able to make a compelling case. Those are all the things I learned growing up. The video making not, but like, those are the things we learned growing up.
Those are entrepreneurial skills, right? I mean, they're life skills, really. That's what they
I didn't see them then because I was going to be a rock star. No, seriously.
Well, those are the same skills for a rock star.
Kind of. I really wanted to be. That was my thing. So I played in bands my whole life.
You do have the haircut, at least.
I used to have really long hair, actually. But I always wanted to be a rock star. And I had a period where I was like, I don't need school. Like, these people are telling me dumb stuff. I already know what I want to do. I want to be a rock star. And by the time, you know, if I sign my name in a couple of years, I'll get $1 million. And my mother was so sweet. She goes, that's great, sweetheart. Just in case you two don't call you for the world tour, just in case you don't make it, why don't you get a degree? You know, because just in case. Because I'm not like a lot of popular people saying like, you don't need an education. It's nonsense. That's not true. That's unfortunately is bad advice. I think for many people, having an education will definitely help them. I don't think like in the American system, you have to go $200,000 in debt to get an education. But the reality is you often need that piece of paper just to be even considered for something. So even though education has its challenges, I'm not going to be that guy that says, you don't go to school, just start lemonade, because schools in many societies will still help you. And I think you can learn a lot from school, but maybe different things. I think it's much more the social element of it, the learning how to learn. Those are things you can learn from school.
I think there's room now for, okay, you go to school, and let's even talk just high school, right? So you go to school, but as parents, we don't have to rely on school teaching everything, because, as you said, doesn't teach on food, doesn't teach on financial literacy, cash flows, and stuff like that. So it's up to us as parents to find other ways, like other avenues for learning the skills. So, for instance, the board game, but finding TikTok videos, finding course creators online who make things fun for their kids. My daughter loves math, so she's got an app on mathematics and makes it fun. So she loves doing it. It's gamified the hell out of it. She loves it.
But science channels on YouTube that just make science so much more engaging.
Yes. And so it's up to us parents to say, okay, they go to school to learn some of the basics, but man, there's so much more to learn. And if we can teach it ourselves, then we have to find someone else that does it. And during COVID, like I got all the homework from school, then suddenly all the parents on earth had to become high school and primary school teachers, right?
Yeah.
I've been teaching at university for 10 years, so but man, no one under 18. I've never taught anyone. And I looked at all the things, I'm like, history, no. Geography, no. Math, no. English, no. Oh, that's it. So I'm like, all right, kids. So what is the biggest problem you see in COVID? What is the biggest opportunity you see in COVID? All right, who are the potential people? Who are the people who've got those problems? I'm just on full on lean startup methodologies, and
fantastic.
I got to facilitate their entrepreneurial mindset, and I realized that's what we can do as parents. So my plan will be at some stage to help parents teach their kids about entrepreneurship. So I'll be teaching the parents entrepreneurship so they can teach it with their kids, because that's having what your dads had with you, basically.
Well, and make it real as soon as possible. So put some real money against it. Get them to put some of their own pocket money behind some of their ideas, because it changes everything. And the reason I say that, because when I started working in the innovation agency a long time ago, I had too much theory. So it all made sense in a book and this model and stuff.
Yeah.
Once I did my first real project where there was real big money on the table and politics came into play, I was like, oh, this is completely different, right? This is complete. This is not how. So what I learned was some obscure kind of kung fu, which works in the gym against other people who do the same kung fu. And then going out on the street, you get punched right in the face, so you figure out that doesn't work.
You're not allowed to do this.
Sorry? Yeah, exactly.
That's not how you do this kung fu.
Exactly. That hurt a lot more. And I think you get that from real experiences. To give you an example, my brother and my sister both had their own. My sister was really big in badminton, loved badminton. My brother was big in field hockey. And I don't know exactly how it came about. I was too young, but at some point they got their own brands. So I think probably mom and dad went to them like, do you want to set up your own business, side hustle? And again, we're talking 80s, right? Lean startup. Nobody knew what that was. But they had the connections. So I think dad got my sister a bunch of badminton records, like a white label badminton record somewhere in Taiwan or Korea, probably in those days. And he got my brother a bunch of hockey sticks through some guy in the UK or something. But then things like, how are you going to sell it? Who are you going to sell it to? What's your brand name? Can you design a logo? We're talking old school computers, like,
80s, oh my God.
WP5, what is it? WordPerfect 5.1 with like a floppy, like really crappy kind of designs, but they had to like create their own design. What's your brand name? Understanding cost. So you have a $10 product. Where are you going to sell it for? Oh, it's $10. Yeah, but there's shipping, there's taxes, right? So those kind of things, like learning to make a profit and balance sheet, really basic things. And they had that, they both got that opportunity. It's your brand. You tell me how you want to run it. Just
you run it. Yeah.
Yeah, but just such great learning experiences. I think that was really cool.
And the funny thing is, you teach them once, and then they just learn. I showed my son how to design his first banner for his own busking setup in the street.
Yeah, nice.
So I showed him Canva just once, right? And then we got that printed out, and then he paid for the printout, and he's got his massive banner. And then he started a band with a friend of his, and he goes to his friend, "We need a banner. Let's go and design it. Oh, we need a logo. Hang on, let me grab his phone, design the logo on Canva, and goes, what do you think of that logo?"
Quick and easy.
So quick and easy. And today we went to the music shop because he plays the piano, and but he's really getting into the guitar. And so he bought an acoustic guitar 2 weeks ago, and wanted to use it into a looper. He bought everything with his money, right? And then he realized, so freaking annoying you cannot record the acoustic guitar because we picked the model that doesn't have a plug in there, right?
Oh, okay. So it doesn't have a pickup in it, like an amp in there.
Right. You can tell I know nothing about music.
I'm a guitarist.
There you go. So we went today, and today he actually picked a Fender who's got a pickup, and is the right size for him, and he's got the right size for his fingers, because the other one was problematic with his fingers. And so we're like, okay. So we took a picture of him with the Fender and go, well, It's $527. So how many times do you need to bask? He makes $100 per half an hour of basking. He goes,
What?
yes. It's cute. So he
That's
goes,
like my consulting rate, basically. So
I need to go basking 5 times. I'm like, yes. So when can you have it? He goes, well, I could have it by Sunday. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So now he's motivated to go back. It's school holiday. So it's like never pay for them. They have to spend their own money. They have to realize he knows how to write down his ledger now. I mean, how much he makes, how much he spends. Those are all important skills to do like that. This is reality.
I agree. And I actually, so to give a bit of credit to my brother and to my sister, I'm the worst one of all three of them when it comes to money. I had no idea how much I had in my bank, how much I was spending. I'm the worst one. I think my brother and sister were definitely much better with that one.
Yeah.
I'm also the youngest one. Maybe that's why. maybe that has something to do with it.
Your dad the problem is as you age and you got your third kid, you become nicer and nicer to the last one.
Or he gave up. He's been like, he's gonna be he thinks he could be a rock star. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. That's hilarious, but that's great you're teaching your kids that. Like I said, for other parents, I'm not a parent, but for other parents out there, what I see with some of my friends is make it real. And when I say make it real is theory only does so much. Like theory, I'm working on a new program right now with a new business partner about creating virtual facilitation. Everybody's working online. It's a lot of it's very uninspiring, very boring. How do you make that more interesting? And the big thing we talked about is you can talk about a lot of stuff in theory, but unless you make something real, so putting out a demo, going on Canva, saying this is what it is, that's where you're going to learn. So for your kids, if they have an idea, if your kids come back and say, we've got an idea to sell whatever, marbles at something, or like, secondhand coffee cups, turn it into something, say, cool, go make a demo. Find a paying customer. Even when they're 7, kids are smart. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for.
And look, eBay is like the new lemonade stand. Like, it's so easy for them to start, and they can undercut everyone because they don't pay rent.
Exactly. So by the time they do start making money, parents, make sure you get a cut. Become a shareholder. Like, talk about, whether you can get a cut out of every. I think that's smart. Why not?
My son has a bigger goal now. He says he really needs a music room. I said, yeah, no worries. Just pay for the rent. Yes. Said, we got a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm happy to have a 3-bedroom apartment. You just pay for the difference.
See what he comes up with. Or at least give you a compelling reason, maybe.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
All right, Joeri. We could be talking forever here. So I wanted to thank you for your time. And I would like to ask you 2 things. What do you want to leave the audience with, and how can we follow you and your content on YouTube, for instance?
All right, so that's a good question. I think the big thing for other entrepreneuring parents is probably keep doing what you're doing. I'm pretty sure I see a lot of people out there doing an amazing job for your kids. Lead by example and make them work for stuff. It's okay if they struggle. I see a lot of parents jumping in a bit too quickly when it gets a bit hard or they start crying. Kids can take a lot. And looking back at somebody who grew up in that environment, those things will pay off dividends later on. Those are assets that you're building. So keep investing in that. About me, YouTube. I have a channel called The Magic Sauce, as in sauce, hot magic sauce, where we talk about facilitation for innovation. That's what I do. Creative ways of looking at business challenges. That's what I do.
Awesome. Cool. I'll put this in the show notes. All right. Thank you so much, Joeri.
Thank you for having me, Julian. It was an absolute pleasure.
See ya.
See ya.
The broadcast now.